Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Captain's Log. I am Captain Beefy with the Game Vault, and today we're going to talk about Hogwarts Legacy and the controversy surrounding it, which is just, in my opinion, gotten out of control. So let's cue up the music, and then we're going to get right to it. Alright, so at the time of recording this, and it's February 12th, 2023, Hogwarts Legacy is sitting at an 85 on Metacritic and a 9.1 user score, which are absolutely fantastic numbers overall. It was a bit higher on the Metacritic score a few days ago, but there have been some gaming websites that have basically released reviews that were less than complimentary, I could say. And we'll take a look at one of those in particular, which was just beyond the pale as far as that goes. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. But before we do that, this game had so much controversy lined up before it even hit the ground running. Okay. Now, apparently, J.K. Rowling a few years ago made a tweet that offended a very small segment of humanity, the trans community, by stating that she was talking about an article. I don't remember the exact article or anything like that, or some kind of tweet where they referred to women as people who menstruate, and she made kind of a snarky remark about, I thought there was a word for that, and then she put up a couple nonsense words that sounded like women, but of course she meant women. Now, J.K. Rowling has never been a personal favorite person of mine. She's tends to be a little too far left leaning for my taste, but it is what it is. She's entitled to her opinion, and that's fine. But she found herself under fire for what she said by the trans community, as they called that statement transphobic, and they just piled onto her, and she actually doubled down on the comment. Let's take a look at what she said to double down on that. All right, so here's the comments themselves that she made. So it was in response to an opinion article by devx.com about creating a more equal post-COVID-19 world for people who menstruate. And she says, well, people who menstruate, I'm sure there used to be a word for those people. Someone help me out. Wumbin? Wimpund? Woomud? Opinion, creating a more equal post-COVID world for people who menstruate, is the article. So that's what she said there, right? And is she wrong? No, she's not wrong. Women menstruate. It's women who menstruate. Men don't menstruate. It doesn't matter what you do, you're not going to change the physiological makeup of a human being to make a man menstruate. Okay? And that's all she was stating there. Now, she goes on to say, if sex isn't real, there's no same-sex attraction. If sex isn't real, the lived reality of women globally is erased. I know and love trans people, but erasing the concept of sex removes the ability of many to meaningfully discuss their lives. It isn't hate to speak the truth. And she's absolutely right there. There was nothing hateful in what she said. What she said was scientifically accurate. What she said angered the trans community because a lot of them have this notion that because they feel a certain way, it's a reality, when the reality is not that. And that's a hard truth to swallow, and it really angers these people that believe that way. Furthermore, she says, the idea that women like me, who have been empathic to trans people for decades, feeling kinship because they're vulnerable in the same way as women, i.e. to male violence, hate trans people because they think sex is real and has lived consequence, is a nonsense. I respect every trans person's right to live any way that feels authentic and comfortable to them. I'd march with you if you were discriminated against on the basis of being trans. At the same time, my life has been shaped by being female. I do not believe it is hateful to say so. And then she goes on to quote an anonymous letter from a terrified lesbian and puts the link there. It says, "I've never felt as shouted down, ignored, targeted as a lesbian within our supposed GLBT community as I have over the past couple years." So this is what she said. Now, again, she's not lying here. She's not being hateful, and she's not dunking on the trans community. And this is what that community needs to realize, is that because they feel a certain way. Now, I'll tell you, I was never an ally. I never considered myself an ally, but I always, I feel about the trans community as I feel for any community. You have the right to be who you want to be, to do what you want to do, and to feel however you want to feel. You have the right to be gainfully employed and not rejected from a job because of your trans status. Just like you should be able to get a job based on your color or your sex or your nationality, whatever. As long as you meet the criteria for that job, there's no reason to not be able to have it, to live where you want to live, to bank where you want to bank, to eat at a restaurant you want to eat at. None of those things should be withheld from you. And if anybody tried to withhold that from you because of what you are, just like she stated, I would fight for you, because I am very much about freedom and freedom of choice for an individual. And I wouldn't condone anyone being stopped because of what they are. So, but again, I was never an ally, because I don't create alliances with quote unquote communities of people. To me, communities of people are just ways of a bunch of people to get together, and they end up becoming corrupted and toxic in the end. And that just seems to be the way it is with any large group of people, where the movement, however it starts, may have the best intentions in mind, but eventually it ends up being corrupted and then transformed into something worse. And that's, I believe, what happened with this whole trans movement, is some loud voices within the community screamed louder than everybody else and absolutely corrupted the movement to the point where you're not making allies by boycotting this game as it was boycotted. And let's look back at this. So when the game was first announced, I think it was a couple years ago, there was some initial pushback and boycotts and all that. Leading up to this game coming out over the past few months, you would see it on Twitter quite a bit. And I'm not going to name anybody individually, but we all know who they are if you're on gaming Twitter at all, of people saying, F you if you buy this game. If you support this game, you are supporting genocide against trans people. I didn't see anything in J.K. Rowling's tweets about genocide. There's no genocide involved in that. And it was just over the top rhetoric, and it was in these echo chambers where everybody in the comments, the comments were so split. It was insane. They're either like, yeah, you go, you tell them, blah, 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 or, just a severe pushback. And I believe that these people who say they are fighting for the trans community and to make it more inclusive and to raise awareness and yada yada, I believe all they're doing is hurting that community, because you have most people in the world are not your ally or are not your enemy. Most people in the world, and I'll be quite frank, don't really care one way or the other. As long as you don't impact their lives in a negative manner, they don't care what you do. They really don't. And that's me included. I don't care. But at this point, by attacking something like this and attacking me for wanting to play this game and for playing this game, now you're forcing me into being your enemy. And that's from your perspective now. All of a sudden, I am your enemy. You're not my enemy, but I am your enemy now because I wanted to play this game. And that's silly, and that's crazy. So anyway, the whole thing started with it's genocide and yada yada. And then more recently, because that wasn't working and pre-order sales were starting to skyrocket, and it was topping on Steam, it was topping on PlayStation. I think it hit number 2. It may have even gone number 1 on Xbox. As far as this is before the game came out, as far as pre-orders go, the numbers were just climbing. Well, then they switched to saying that it was also anti-Semitic because goblins, which are one of the villains in the games, are based on Jewish people. Which when I read that whole thing, somebody made some big 5-tweet thing on that was it was utterly ridiculous. And all I could think of when I read that was, if you, and this person claims to be Jewish themselves, but when I see the goblins in the game, I see goblins. I see a mythical fake creature that has been throughout history in all kinds of lore, whether it be Lord of the Rings and Dungeons and Dragons and whatever else. Goblins have been represented countless amounts of times in literature, movies, games, etc., etc., etc. Not once have they been correlated with Jewish people. So they tried to shift gears and say, well, let's say it's anti-Semitic instead of anti-trans. And that didn't work. The game still continued to rocket up the charts and all that. And all I could think when I read that was like, well, you really sound anti-Semitic. If you look at a goblin and see a Jewish person, that is on you. That's not on me. Because when I look at a goblin, I see a goblin. And that's it. I see that mythological creature. So that silliness didn't work either. So anyway, the game continued to sell and break records and climb up the charts and all that. And when it finally released, on the early release on the 7th of February, one clown on Twitter actually set up a website where you could punch in a streamer's name to see if they played, and I'll quote, that wizard game. They're treating it like Voldemort's name, like he who cannot be named. It's that ridiculous. And you could see if they were streaming it, and people were making efforts to go onto these streams to harass the streamers. And I know of one in particular, at least, they made the girl cry during the thing. And I'm like, this is utterly ridiculous. How many allies are you making by attacking people who love gaming, who love Harry Potter, and who just want to share that love with their friends and whoever else out there on the internet? Here you are attacking them. Here you are making all these comments. People have claimed they've gotten death threats. People have claimed all kinds of stuff. Now, none of that, I can prove personally, but I'm just saying, from what I've seen, this is what's going on. And I saw some footage from the attack on the stream that made the girl cry and all that, and it's utterly ridiculous, and it's beyond stupid. It really is. And it serves no purpose other than it's like a child throwing a tantrum at that point. So that was what they tried to do there. Is they attacked the streamers. I noticed when I put out videos on YouTube, especially the shorts, because the shorts reach a lot of people, they get tons of thumbs down compared to my other shorts, which tend to get a lot more thumbs up. It'll be in that 100%, 90%, whatever. Not the Harry Potter ones, though. Not the, Hogwarts Legacy ones, I should say. They're getting 33% and all that. And I know it's just hate thumbs, and I feel like just, every time I get a thumb, well, here, you get my finger. It's just that silly and all that. But it won't stop me from doing it. I mean, I don't care. I don't care what random people on the internet think, to be honest with you. That doesn't bother me. I'm a 52-year-old man. I have seen things come and go throughout life. I have seen fads come and go throughout life and these weird trends and all that. And I know eventually this will pass eventually. And I think a lot of people, once this passes, are going to regret some of the decisions they made in life. But that's neither here nor there. We're here to talk about Hogwarts. So let's look at some of the reviews that it has gotten. So here's IGN, Hogwarts Legacy review in almost every way. This is Harry Potter RPG I've always wanted to play. And it goes on to give you a nice little send-up of what it's about and all that and what they thought about the game. And it's all going good. But then all of a sudden we come down here to the middle of the article and we have this disclaimer concerning J.K. Rowling and the elephant in the room. And there are good reasons, both in-game and out, to believe the developers don't share her views. And it's an apology, basically, for giving the game a positive review. And when I saw that, I was like, come on, IGN, review the game based on the game itself. You don't need to worry about what J.K. Rowling said and how, again, a small percentage of people perceived what she said and twisted those words around. It's just, review the game. Is the game good or not? Don't apologize for liking the game. It's a good game. I like it. Zero apologies there. We go on to Engadget, Hogwarts Legacy review, a massive game alive with magic. And here we go again. It's the game I've been dreaming of since I was a teenager. It's alive with magic, yada yada. Talks about the combat. And as we go through it, And we talk about going to Hogsmeade and never-ending list of things. And it's, it's going great, right? Boom, boom, boom. It talks about the Goblin Rebellions. It's functional as a basic fantasy premise. And then this one mentions the anti-Semitic part. There are valid questions about whether the depiction of goblins in Harry Potter is inherently anti-Semitic or the result of centuries of European fiction that coded vampires, dwarves, and other creatures with its author's anti-Semitism. I mean, come on, guys. It's just... It gets really, really ridiculous. Then it goes on for more to talk about, for anyone concerned about encountering transphobic or bigoted content in Hogwarts Legacy, the author was not involved in the writing and creation, and the world is more inclusive than the series has ever been. And it even has the world's first transgender character in it, which is just... When I came across that character at the Three Brooms, it really... I'll tell you, it took me out of the game, to be honest with you. It's in... Well, let's see a little footage of it right here.
It's a treat to see you, Lord Gok. I shall let you know if I hear anything.
Thank you, Sirona.
You be well.
So next up, NPR talks about it, right? Review. Hogwarts Legacy is open world magic but can't escape the Rowling controversy. And talks about how it's to millennials what Star Wars was for Generation X and blah, blah, blah. Talking about movie tie-ins and all that. And then here we go. Unfortunately, the trip to Hogwarts comes with some heavy baggage, and we go over the J.K. Rowling thing again. And it goes on and on through most of these reviews, and it just gets more and more ridiculous every time you read the next review. But boy, there was one in particular that was something else. So finally we get to this one, which came out a couple days ago. Now, a lot of gaming websites and all that did not get review copies of the game to review it ahead of time, and Wired is going to show you exactly why they didn't get a review copy. And this is one of the most egregious takes I've ever seen on a review of a video game. Starts off with, and Gianna Gray, this is who wrote the review. Gianna Gray, who is known for reviewing lube and sex toys for the most part, takes on Hogwarts Legacy. And this person, I don't know what they are, to be honest with you, but there is no magic in Hogwarts Legacy. The game is mid at best, and its real world harms are impossible to ignore. Real world harms. I don't know. I've played quite a few hours of this game, and I don't believe anybody has been injured in the game. Or because of the game. I've injured a lot of people in the game, but yeah, no one in the real world has been injured by me playing this game. And here we go. Rating 1 of 10. You don't rate a game 1 of 10 unless it's garbage shovelware that is just a copy and paste garbage game designed by some of these garbage shovelware companies that truck out tons of these a year, or it's a game that is so broken that it's unplayable, or so bad, that it's unplayable. And this game is none of the above. And this is one of the most dishonest reviews. And it's not even a review, it's an editorial on this person. It's almost like Gianna had a therapy session when she wrote this, just put it out there for the world to read. But Wired tired. The story is rooted in anti-Semitic tropes. The gameplay feels dated. The graphics feel like they're a couple generations behind. All the characters are one-dimensional. It doesn't stay true to the established lore. Every character feels like an off-brand version of the characters we know and love. There's no sense of place, no magic, no heart. And that right there sums up pretty much all they have to say about the game. The rest of it goes into, yikes, y'all. I don't even smoke, and I feel like I need a cigarette before I get this thing started. We're here to talk about Hogwarts Legacy, and to do what we need to discuss the whole mess, pull up a chair, pour yourself some tea, wrap yourself in a blanket, scream into a pillow, or the abyss, because this one's going to take a lot out of both of us, or get heavy. So, I don't even know what to say about that opening. What garbage writing is that? That has nothing to do with the game. And all this is doing is telling me what a weak person the author of this is. Scream into a pillow, Wrap yourself in a blanket. By the way, they did review some of those weighted blankets for people with anxiety, so I'm sure she had quite a few of those, or he, I don't want to assume their gender, but I'm sure they had some of those wrapped around them when they wrote this article whatever. So they talk about it's a third-person RPG set in the same classic book, blah, blah, blah. It's all the intellectual property and brainchild of author J.K. Rowling. It's important because she's always been inseparable from her work and from work that she's inspired and licensed for better and now mostly for worse. Nothing with the Wizarding World stamp can be viewed without the context of it being her product. And she talks about, in her book, she made the ordinary seem extraordinary. She created a place where weird, lonely kids could feel special, where they survived abuse, blah, blah, blah. She's had some, and then it goes on to say, she's had some opinions about people like me and whether or not we should exist. Now, going back to those tweets, and you read them with me, she said nothing about them not existing or not being allowed to exist. She was just differentiating between the fact that a woman can menstruate and no one else can. So it's just silliness. When I was a kid, I read every word that flowed from like magic and blah, blah, blah. So it just goes on and on and on. And it's such a sad thing to read. It's an editorial, and I guess their editor or whatever backed up this review. So when I read this, I was disgusted. I'm like, Wired, you got to do better, man. I mean, you got to do better. I ended up blocking this idiot on Twitter as well as Wired. I'm not going to give them any traction on Twitter. They're not going to get any engagement from me anymore because I'm done with gaming journalism that writes stuff like this that is just totally 100% without merit. Gianna Rodriguez-Gray is a product writer and reviewer at Wired covering coffee, sex tech, and gaming. Previously, she was a legal researcher for Thomson Reuters and a tech reporter for Digital Trends. She currently resides in Portland, Oregon, there's a shocker, with her partner, there's a shocker, and a pet rabbit named Lola, another shocker. So yeah, here's some of the other stuff that it's done. Best vibrators in the world for everyone. Yes, even men. 7 great Valentine's Day deals on vibrators and suction toys. I have a feeling this person needs a lot of these toys because, there's Gianna. Yeah. So anyway, not to get personal or anything like that, but sometimes you have to slap back a little bit. And that's, kind of what I wanted to do with this Captain's Log, because I see this division within the industry and this weird this weird group of people that just feels like they need to impose their will on everyone else and determine what you can say, what you can't say, what you can play, what you can't play, and all that. And to me, it's utterly ridiculous. I am 52 years old. I work, I earn my money, I spend it the way I want, I will take my off time and I will spend that money on what I want, and I will enjoy activities that I like. And I don't care what anyone else thinks about it. Okay? You can come at me with all the hate in the world you want, you can come at me, I don't care. Your random internet opinion, Gianna Gray, and all those other haters out there, I don't care. And the more people that stand up to that, the less we're going to see these kind of attacks, the less orchestrated attacks we're going to see against these poor streamers that suffered, all this hate. I mean, I'm small time, man. Nobody knows I exist. But if they did, I wouldn't care, because the opinion of a sheep does not matter to the lion. I believe that was a Lannister that said that, or something along those lines. So, stop being weak, Gianna Gray, and everybody else out there who has these kind of crazy opinions, and stop taking things out of context, and stop listening to the machine that feeds you your lines every day on what's the latest thing to be upset about, and what's the latest thing to be offended by, and all that. Grow a bit of a thicker skin and understand that just like your opinion doesn't matter to me, my opinion shouldn't matter to you, Gianna Gray. Anyway, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. If you enjoyed this video at all, please leave a like on it, or leave a dislike if you hated it and I pissed you off. I mean, that's That's completely up to you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and ring that bell for notifications so you can see every time I upload a video. And let me know down in the comments what you think about all of this nonsense regarding Hogwarts Legacy, the game, the future of the game, and gaming in general, and the whole, the whole landscape out there, because things are crazy right now. It seems like every week or two we get some kind of new madness that everybody's, a bunch of people are pissed off about and another bunch of people are happy about, and it's utterly crazy. And I don't know. I just want to have some fun, have fun with you guys. So I'll see y'all next time. Until then, peace.